There's been another NXT call-up. Shocking, I know. The SmackDown after WrestleMania, and there's NXT call-ups. Crazy.
I'm shocked.
Chopper Pete Quinnell. I know. I am Chopper Pete Quinnell. I am joined by Randy Andy Datson. And welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast review of SmackDown. Please give this video a like and a subscribe. Do all the algorithm things that YouTube likes. That would be great. Thank you. And let's talk about this Forgotten Sons debut on SmackDown, because I didn't know it was happening. Maybe I missed some part of news or something that happened, but I didn't know this call-up was coming, and I was a bit like, the Forgotten Sons? That's a weird choice for an NXT call-up, simply because I feel like they haven't done everything they can do in NXT. I feel like there's better factions, tag teams, everything in NXT who've done a lot more, who would be more, you know, an obvious choice to bring up to the main roster. But I was pleasantly surprised to see the Forgotten Sons. And they had a match against the Lucha House Party, which was not a squash match, which, again, honestly, I kind of prefer that it wasn't, simply because I'm really kind of bored of squash matches, and it would be the same debut as literally every other faction in the history of the world, apart from the Nexus and the Shield. But other than those, it would be the same NXT call-up all the time. And it's like we had it on Raw when Nia Jax came back. It's like, squash match. Sheamus is still here. Squash matches. I don't need to see more squash matches. So I was quite pleasantly surprised that this wasn't. And I thought it was actually a really fun match. I thought there was like barely any rest holds at all. It was quite fun. It was fast. Lucha House Party are great at doing that kind of fast, innovative, flippy offense. And Forgotten Sons really complemented that quite well, I thought. This was probably the most fun I've had watching Forgotten Sons in ever. I want to say maybe since the Dusty Classic matches.
I mean,
a couple of good ones
I knew this was coming. I don't know why, but I was told or saw early in this week that it was coming, so I wasn't surprised to see it. It was fine. I get what you mean about it being a slightly different debut to the rest of the factions, but similarly, it feels like it could have been a squash match just because it's the Lucha House Party. No one cares about them. And I feel like they could have had Riker in the match. I know he's the kind of guy who stands sentinel at the side looking a bit scary and muscly and things like that. But yeah, I mean, having watched them in NXT, I can't say that I was overly excited about seeing them. But that's just because they kind of started slightly hot and then very quickly faded into stay forgotten chants from the fans. They don't feel like a kind of star power team. I feel like what's going to happen is there'll be a team for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then Vince will spot that there's a big, muscly, hairy man at ringside, and they will quite quickly turn him into the single star and have the other two just become any other tag team. I thought what they could have done instead of just having this match was them possibly wait till next week. I imagine this will still happen, but I imagine they're going to interfere in next week's triple threat match. That kind of just gives a bit more of a oomph rather than announcing, oh, by the way, next up, it's the Forgotten Sons. You probably don't know who they are, but it's the Forgotten Sons. I also didn't like how they shout, with Forgotten No More before hitting their pretty lame finisher for what I feel should be a kind of hardcore team. It's sort of like I'm going to hold you while my mate jumps and stomps on you a bit. I don't know. I'm a bit of a sucker for good finishers, and I didn't think this was one.
No, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I mean, what I quite liked from this match was it showed off that the Forgotten Sons can be quite a good tag team, because I think if they did a squash match, it wouldn't really showcase what they could do, because like you said, they don't have the greatest finisher in the world or anything like that. So if they came out, did a big boot and then their finisher, people would be like, eh. But at least we got to see more of their offense and more of what they can do in this tag match, which I thought, again, was quite fun. So I quite liked this debut. I thought it was quite effective in what it needed to do. And like I said, I think it was probably the most fun I've had watching Forgotten Sons in a long time. So maybe the main roster is just a better fit for them than NXT was. Maybe they're just more apt to that sort of style.
It's interesting because now that they've got NXT live on Wednesdays, they're not going to be doing the call-ups that we sort of have seen in previous years. They're not going to be we're not going to get Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura like popping up, just because that's not how they do it anymore. NXT is its own brand in that sense. We'll still get now and then we'll get a call-up like we've got Shayna Baszler and things like that, but they'll only really be, I think, once either they feel like they've got nothing more to do, so Shayna's done everything, or that they've just completely lost the momentum that they had in NXT and they need basically a new sort of a new page in their book, which I think was the crap about them in NXT. So maybe they're going to give more of a crap about them on SmackDown, and it was quite nice to see them come out to silence rather than to people booing and shouting "You stay forgotten" and things like that. Because while I'm not all that thrilled about seeing them, they deserve a second chance to kind of be the team that they probably can be. I mean, they're all talented guys. I do think Riker is going to be seen as the star, and I think we'll
I think rightfully so.
By sort of SummerSlam, and by SummerSlam, I think we will see him being a single star, which is fine because I don't think Vince is all that high on sort of 6-man tags. I think he's much more of a tag man guy. And to
he's much more of a singles guy than he is even a tag guy. So,
but to have a guy like that just standing at ringside instead of getting involved, I don't think Vince is going to be too high on. So
Oh yeah, totally.
I think you could see even maybe Riker somehow kind of insert himself in the Money in the Bank match,
that would
something
be cool,
like that,
actually.
just to kind of get the team over as well. Because we got a lot of kind of Money in the Bank teases, Money in the Bank kind of previews in this show. So.
Overall though, I thought it was pretty good. The thing I liked about this show as a whole is it generally made me not necessarily excited for stuff that's coming, but I do want to watch more SmackDown to see what's going to happen. So
yeah, absolutely,
and that's an unusual thing. So
there are not necessarily new feuds, but it felt like more of a cohesive show. There were no. I mean, there were a few video packages, there were a few WrestleMania recaps, but that's to be expected on the kind of show following WrestleMania. But yeah, I mean, it was an actual 2-hour show of segments wrestling. It was a full show rather than here's 3/4 of a show and here's a match that you forgot happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Forgotten Sons now seemingly on SmackDown full time. But of course, that's not the only thing that happened on the show. So let's get into reviewing the whole show. And I'm sure the person smashing plates in the background is really excited for the rest of this review as well. The show started off with Braun Strowman, the new Blue Universal Champion, coming down and celebrating his victory over Goldberg at WrestleMania before he's interrupted by none other than Shinsuke Nakamura, which I thought it made sense because Braun is the one who beat Shinsuke for the Intercontinental Championship, and it's something that Shinsuke is, not forgotten. Notable by their absence were Sami Zayn and Cesaro at this point, and I was like, wait, they haven't broken up Sami, Cesaro, and Nakamura, have they? I thought they just can it and never mention it again. I got quite worried. But Shinsuke comes down, cuts a promo by himself. I thought he didn't speak English, according to Vince McMahon anyway, right? But they let him cut a promo, and he was saying...
Of course, he did chuck him in a bit of Japanese, just because you need to remember that he is foreign, so you want to...
Yeah. He's Japanese, so you got to remember he's not English, guys. He cuts a promo on Braun, just saying that he wants to fight him because he beat the Intercontinental title, blah, 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 blah. But apparently it was all a ruse because Cesaro was materialized behind Braun, but then Braun immediately spotted him and then pushed him out the ring. And then Shinsuke did a kick to Braun, which made him mildly dazed. And then Shinsuke went away. And I was like,
yeah, I thought he sold it a bit much for a kick. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's kidding themselves at this point that Nakamura's got any chance. But yeah, I mean, he at least there was a kind of he had a reason for coming out. He's like, the last time we saw you, we were beating you. So there was the kind of at least a bit of storyline. It wasn't just like here's a person.
Exactly.
So that
wasn't
was
a
fine.
big show.
No, exactly. I'm glad it wasn't the big show. But yeah, I mean, as we saw later in the show, that the kind of this was just to put Braun over ahead of a new feud, which we will discuss later.
Yes. After that, we got a WrestleMania rematch in the form of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Kabuki Warriors for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I thought this was a fine match. This was fun. Wasn't anything bad about it per se. I just don't really think we needed to see it particularly.
No, not really, especially as they kind of teased a new feud later on between Bliss and Cross and another team. But yeah, it's just a shame. It's just a shame that Sane has to take the pin again because they're really making her look like a sucker. A
little bit, but it's to be expected. If she is going to be leaving WWE, it's to be expected, really.
Pete, they're making her
I got it. But I enjoyed a couple of botched lines from Michael Cole in this one. Cross is ecstatic. She's finally a champion in WWE. She's a former tag team champion.
I'm not going to do the voice because
you have other people around.
Exactly. I have other people around. So I'm not going to be screaming in that silly accent. So don't worry.
But good one, Cole. She's a former tag team champion, and she's ecstatic to finally be a champion in WWE. Good job, Cole. And there was also a point where Asuka goes for an armbar, and Cole goes, "It's the Asuka lock." It's definitely not, Cole.
I thought that was weird. I mean, to be honest, any submission move that she does seems to be it's the Asuka lock because she's called Asuka and it's a lock. But it was fine. It was a fine match. But yeah, like you said, we didn't need to see this.
No, not really,
because we saw this last weekend. I would have much preferred. I don't know. You could have just built someone else, just have an exhibition match. Instead, you could have just had them do their backstage promo as they did later on about how excited they were. But there you go.
We'll talk about that backstage segment now. Later on, there was it was those two being all happy backstage, Bliss and Cross, and then Dana Brooke and Carmella come in, the best well-known tag team, and they say, "Hey, we didn't get to wrestle at WrestleMania, so we want a match with you, please." And then they say, "No," and then Cross is like, "We should talk about it," and then they talk about it, and then Brooke and Carmella are waiting, being like, "I hope they do it," and then they come back and then they say, "Yeah, okay." I was very confused by this segment. Was it supposed to be funny? Because I don't think it was.
I mean, there was a lot of avoiding, or it was kind of don't mention the wall kind of thing. Like they were like, "Oh, we didn't have a match because we weren't there," and then the Miz in the segment later was like, "I was injured." There was just a lot of kind of like, "Oh yeah, we weren't there for reasons. Okay, bye." I mean, everyone knows why they weren't there. I would have preferred it if they'd just gone, "We weren't there." But yeah, I mean, there is no way that Dana Brooke and Carmella are going to win this feud. They are not a team. They are not a team that anyone is excited about seeing. But unfortunately, the women's tag division is bare bones.
Very much so.
I mean, who else is there?
I mean, there isn't even Fire and Desire anymore because they've broken up. So,
I mean, I thought the whole point was that kind of Asuka. I mean, isn't Asuka on the Kabuki Warriors a Raw act?
Yes.
Yeah. So
women's tag titles technically can float between brands.
Yeah, I know, but I would have just thought that they would, that instead of having people come over to SmackDown, have them appear on other brands. That would seem to make more sense. But or just have teams kind of cut promos and go, well, we're now that they're the champions, we think we deserve a chance because we've done this and this. But there are just, who is there? I mean, like you said, the Iconics, but where have they been?
I mean, they probably can't make it to taping for a while. I think they're probably in elsewhere. I don't know where, but traveling is not the easiest thing. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, there's slim pickings for challenges, but hey ho, what can you do?
It's kind of like that, here are 2 women we're not using. But yeah,
pretty much. Franken team. After the match, it was Elias did another song from the same perch again. I was like, "What are you doing, Elias? Do you not remember what happened last time?"
But he kind of mentions that though. He's like, "This is where I was when he tried to end my career." But probably one of his most tuneful songs, even if it was just kind of like
actually all right, you know.
It was like, "Dethroned the king, don't doubt me, I returned like Simba," basically, and I'm going to be entering the Money in the Bank match, or I'm going to try and enter, because he didn't set, like, there was no official confirmation, but he heavily suggested that he will be in the Money in the Bank match.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is fine.
Which is good, yeah. And something else that got set up on this show, well, I say set up, something that was announced on this show, was they are going to be doing Money in the Bank qualifying matches, which I am a big fan of.
Yeah,
please do that all the time.
Daniel Bryan against Cesaro.
Daniel Bryan and Cesaro is going up for next week, and Naomi versus Dana Brooke, I think, is also next week for the women's one, which is like, it might not be the most exciting match in the world. However,
but at least you have to earn your spot.
Earn your spot in the Money in the Bank match. Yeah, please do. So hopefully we can see Elias in a qualifying match at some point, probably against Corbin, let's be real, because when can they ever drop feuds? But yeah, the song itself was pretty good. One of Elias's best.
Yeah, exactly.
After that, we get a recap of literally the best story in literally the best story in wrestling history.
Yes.
Otis versus Mandy Rose versus Otis.
Come on, Pete, you can do this.
Mandy Rose. But then after that recap of that WrestleMania moment, Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler come out and they berate Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Corey Graves back on commentary, by the way, which was a nice addition because I can't deal with just Cole. And they come out and they berate Cole and Graves for kind of making light of the situation and making jokes about it and things like that. And they say, we know what's best for Mandy. We just need to talk to her. But instead of Mandy, Tucker comes out and he's like, "Hey, man," in a nice kind of reversal of the segment a few weeks ago. He was like, "Here's some pictures of Mandy being really happy with Otis this time.
In a parking lot.
And they're working out. Don't question it.
That's where I go on all my dates. I go to parking lots and I do
They weren't dating. They were working out together.
Well,
very different.
That's still a nice coupley activity. But yeah, no, he comes out and goes, "Oh, I see you're still smitten with Otis's kitten," which is a weird way of saying it.
Well, it's what Dolph said in the segment a few weeks ago. So it was a reverse of that. He said it back to him.
Nice. Oh, psych.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this was basically like just to set up another match between Dolph and Tucker, which I was almost certain Tucker was going to win. He did not. He lost so clean and without any real distraction from Sonya. Right,
but I think you're missing the important bit here, which was that Tucker was amazing. God, I love Tucker so much.
He's good. He's great. But again, another surprise was that Otis and Mandy didn't help him at all. They were just like, no, is that a thing now? Are they just not a team? Or is that just like, are they going to be doing more single stuff from now on?
Okay, so we have very differing opinions of this segment because I thought this was a home run segment. I thought this was brilliant because Tucker, his intensity in this match, he was working really stiff. He was constantly trash talking Ziggler, throwing him into the steps, hitting these really like stiff clotheslines. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is great stuff from Tucker to put over that emotion of Ziggler like screwing him up last week, hitting that zigzag on the steps, which looked like a nasty bump to take.
Yeah.
But I really I bought into Tucker's kind of intensity and his emotion going into it, which was awesome. And then Ziggler, who was really on the back foot, just managed to sneak out a victory by Tucker kind of posting himself, and he hit a super kick and just kind of fell on him for the win.
Yeah.
And I really like that because Ziggler should be winning over a tag team guy, really. It does make sense for him to win. And it still kind of furthers that feud between Otis and Tucker and Mandy and Sonya and Dolph. So I don't know where that's going to end up eventually. I don't know whether if Rude can get there eventually. Maybe they're going to do that 6-man tag that they wanted to do at Mania. But I thought this was a good way to carry on the feud. It let Tucker shine a little bit. Even coming up short, he still looked really good in defeat. I thought this was great. I thought it was awesome. And Otis and Mandy working out and not coming to help was probably because they were busy working out and being a couple. I don't know what they were doing, but I liked it.
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, it was the classic kind of big man gets really, really fired up. Big man misses spear into corner. Which results in big man losing. It wasn't a bad match at all. That's not what I'm saying.
I thought great.
I just, I don't know. I thought that it was just slightly anticlimactic to have. I know it was kind of like a very Healy kind of weaseling his way out of it. So yeah, and definitely wasn't a bad segment at all. But I was just surprised with the outcome. I was surprised that Otis didn't come to help, and I was also surprised that Sonya didn't really try to interfere. I just thought that would be the way to kind of cement them as a kind of evil partnership.
I think that probably would have been the trigger for Otis and Mandy to come and help, was if Sonya was getting involved, but because she barely did. I think there was once where she distracted the ref and Dolph did a thumb to the eye or something. That was quite early in the match though. So maybe they just didn't come to help because they didn't think they needed to, because they believed in Tucker. I don't know. And also, if I'm going to do an interpretation of what was done here, the pictures that Dolph showed Otis before of him and Mandy together was of them being all pretty and going out and being all glamorous and stuff. And the pictures that Tucker has been shown was of them just being people and working out and just being average people. It's a more babyface thing to do. It's showing how Mandy has come to the side of just kind of working out and being a person rather than look, I'm the glamour model type thing.
A blue collar babe or something.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, I thought this was great. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this feud. After that, it was time for the extended finish of the tag title ladder match from WrestleMania, which they showed. And then they did an in-ring live dirt sheet with Miz and Morrison. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yep. Lots of things are good news.
Lots of things are good news.
They start to sing their song,
hey, ho, ho.
which was interrupted by the Usos. And you'll never guess who's going for the tag titles again.
It is genuinely shocking.
It's the same three teams that have been going for the tag titles for the past 6 months. The last team to hold these belts that wasn't one of these teams was the Revival, and we know what happened to them now.
Yeah.
So it's fine, but I'm not excited to see this match again.
I mean, I am, because it's three really good people, because they're doing what they set up. Hang on. Need to actually say what the match is. So they set up the inverse of the WrestleMania match. So you had the three singles stars out of the three tag teams going for the tag titles at WrestleMania. They're doing the opposite tag team members going for the titles next week, I think they said, which is Big E, The Miz, and Jey Uso this time going in a triple threat match for the tag titles once again. So yeah, I like this. I'm excited because it's going to be a good match. I mean, that ladder match at WrestleMania I thought was awesome. I thought it was really, really fun. The finish was a bit, but the match itself was really, really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what these three can do. And what else are they going to do for the tag titles? I mean, you've got the Forgotten Sons now. Maybe they'll get involved, but the tag teams are there.
And now that the Revival are gone, you've got one less team to go for it. There aren't actually that many teams to kind of choose.
House Party.
Between. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I know you're saying that as a joke, but yeah, I mean, you can't really have them go for it. They're not a team really at the moment that anyone's going to give a monkeys about. Rude and Ziggler aren't a team at the moment.
They don't have a Rude, so
yeah, exactly. So there are a limited amount of people. I guess I do think the Miz is going to win next week, but I just don't know. I just don't know where they go from there. Do they just do the Usos, or do they just do the New Day again? I just can't see what they're going to do unless they just want to keep doing
I don't know
6-man tags or kind of 9-man tags or whatever.
I mean, I don't know where they're going to go, but honestly, I don't know if they have a choice. So I think they might just have to keep doing the same feud. And I can't be too mad about that because they don't have much.
I think that what they might do is kind of have them keep wrestling as single stars. Maybe try and get this sort of just keep doing this until they've got everyone back. Maybe I don't know, have Morrison enter Money in the Bank so that Miz doesn't have to defend. They don't have to defend at Money in the Bank. Kind of keep making excuses for them to not have to defend, and just sort of have them be single stars. Maybe, just to have them enter these matches as single stars so that they don't have to kind of put the titles on the line, and it kind of is a ready-made excuse to have them weasel out of having to kind of to defend their belts.
Totally, yeah. But after that segment, we get that match set up for next week. We get the Forgotten Sons Lucha House Party match that we talked about earlier. We get that backstage promo with Bliss and Cross and Carmella and Dana Brooke that we mentioned before. And then Banks and Bayley come out to celebrate Bayley's title retention at WrestleMania. And they come out and they gloat, and Bayley says they've got 2 words for their haters. And then Sasha Banks looks directly at Bayley and says, "Screw you." It's like, I'm sure that message was definitely meant for the haters and not for Bayley.
Yeah, no, they're doing a pretty good job of building this whole thing. So they were interrupted by Tamina,
your favorite person.
They are using. Do you know what they are doing? They are using the fact that there is no crowd to push Tamina because genuinely, I think that's what they're doing. Because her reaction is so, it's not even negative. It's just so.
It's indifference.
It's so indifferent that now that there is no one to react, I think they're going to push her.
And you know what though? She cut the best promo she's ever cut. The bar for that is very low, but
I can't remember a single promo she's ever cut.
Promo.
It was the best promo I can remember of hers.
Yeah.
But basically, she said, "Hey, you didn't beat me. All of you beat me. It took all of you to pin me," which is fine. Which is a kind of classic big person move. But Bayley goes, "Hey, do you know what? You can have your match if you can beat Sasha." And Sasha's like, "What? I didn't agree to this." Again, kind of sowing the seeds. I mean, the seeds have been sown already. The plant is growing.
It's germinating.
It is germinating. But yeah, so it's basically Tamina saying, "Hey Bayley, do you want Samoa?" She's from Samoa.
That's bad because it sounded like you just said small, which is a very different thing.
Hey Bayley, do you want some s'mores? I've never had a s'more.
Slightly different. I've had s'mores.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Pretty good. Pretty good, mate.
Pretty crazy content.
Yeah,
but yeah, so next week we're going to get Tamina against Sasha Banks. I imagine Tamina will win, maybe set up a match, or maybe Bayley will interfere, and then Tamina will go, "Do you know what? I'm going to enter the Money in the Bank match, and then I'll win the briefcase so that I can face you," or something like that.
That's not a bad shout. I could see it where Tamina wins because Bayley has an opportunity to interfere and doesn't.
Yeah.
And she could save Sasha and she doesn't.
Or she tries to interfere and then gets scared off by Tamina.
Or she gets ejected, maybe. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, some sort of way to continue the Banks-Bayley eventual blow up. After that, Sheamus squashes local talent Cal Bloom, who I'm reliably informed is Matt Bloom's son, who is Albert A-Train.
Yes, the hairiest man in the world.
Yeah,
when he wants to be.
Yes. After that, we get this weird moment, I think, which I think is actually kind of subtle storytelling, which is the commentary after that match are talking about the next segment they're going to, which is a Jeff Hardy documentary hype package type thing. And as they're talking about his return to WWE, Sheamus is there and just kind of glares at the commentary team for a minute and then walks off. So I assume we might be getting a Sheamus Jeff Hardy feud once he comes back. Yeah,
Sheamus will go, I came back and no one cared about that. And then but this guy comes back. This guy comes back. And then
so you wouldn't do Nikki Cross, but you do that.
The person was Scottish, who was in my flat.
Oh,
so I didn't want to offend anyone.
But you're fine with offending the viewers who are also Scottish.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
They're not here. They can't hit me. But yes, so and then we got this Jeff Hardy package, which was fun. It was
really good. I thought,
a few minutes of kind of just reminding us, not that we really needed it, but reminding us who Jeff Hardy is, where he came from, and so for me. It kind of went, look, this is everything that he's done. He is probably nearing the end of his career. The way he has wrestled does not kind of sort of lend itself to someone who can wrestle into their 50s. I mean, what is he now? He's early 40s,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see him probably having I can see him seeing out his WWE career and then maybe just doing indies again, or he might be someone who goes, you know what, it's a cushy living. If I just say to WWE, well, I've had an offer from AEW, then they'll go, well, here's money and a 5-year contract. He can say, okay, but I don't want to wrestle that much. My body's a bit broken down.
Just do a part-time deal.
Can bring me out when I need to jump off something.
Yeah, totally. So reportedly, he's going to be getting a big push when he comes back to try and stop him going to AEW. Whether that will work or not, I don't know. But yeah, I thought this video package was quite cool. And if we get that for a Sheamus Jeff Hardy feud, it might be good. Who knows? I'm sure Hardy can sell a bro kick pretty well.
Yes.
After that, we get some announcements for the next few weeks. There's going to be a Triple H 25-year celebration in 2 weeks. Sure. I'm sure Triple H needs celebrating more.
Yes.
We get Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro in a Money in the Bank qualifier next week. We get Naomi versus Dana Brooke in a Money in the Bank qualifier. And we get Sonya Deville trying to clear the air with Mandy Rose also next week, which I'm quite looking forward to personally. Yeah. And then we get the main event, which was Braun Strowman versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Braun Strowman dominated about 95% of this match and then won with a power slam.
Yes. This happened and I was like, oh, there's still 5 minutes to go. What's going on here? I don't know why I didn't see this coming, but I didn't. And on comes.
You don't know why you didn't see this coming.
I don't get it. So yeah, Firefly Funhouse started, and it was what you'd kind of expect between these two. It was, remember, I'm the person who brought you into this world, like almost like I'm your mum. And I'm the one who's going to take you out of it. Yep. And Braun kind of sort of, he didn't no sell it, but he sort of went, yeah, right, come on then.
Yeah, all right. Then.
And Braun kind of did the whole Wyatt thing. He sort of said, "Oh, I'm going to let me in."
Whenever you want, I'm ready to let you in.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm glad you were watching. And then he does the whole Wyatt thing where he goes, bye, which is quite fun. Yeah. Braun's character is very much, I am big man. But it's nice to see him have a bit more personality. And I think, like we said off air, we're not so much excited about the match, but more excited about what they're going to do in the feud because they've got a lot of story to work with. They've got a lot of footage to work with. A lot of Bray genius to work with, I think. So, yeah, I think this could be fun. I do think that Braun is a transitional champion. I do think Bray's going to win it back, which could be where we see Jeff Hardy. I think challenge for the title. So, yeah, we'll see what happens next. I think.
Could maybe even see Hardy winning Money in the Bank. There might be a thing for him to do.
I can't see Hardy with the briefcase. I can't see someone challenging the Fiend with the briefcase.
That would be weird.
I think it'd be weird. I think I have a suspicion it's going to be someone on Raw. I think it could be someone like Angel Garza.
That'd be great.
See him carrying around the briefcase. I think it's going to be a heel winning it this year. I just think heels work better with it. I much prefer people threatening to cash in than someone going, "I've got a briefcase, I'm going to wrestle you." Yeah, I much prefer that. So I can't see Jeff winning that.
So yeah, I think what you're assuming there though is that Fiend is going to beat Strowman, because if Strowman beats the Fiend, then someone could totally cash in on Strowman. Someone could easily cash in on the Universal Champion. But I do think that the Fiend is winning it back. I really liked this Firefly Funhouse. It was, classic Bray. It had the whiteboard saying the history of John Cena and Bray Wyatt. And then he says, hold on, I need to rewrite history, and then wipes out history and then rewrites the word history, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah. And then he's like, John, you were right. We can't see you.
Which was the second time in the night someone had made that joke. I feel like they should have really cross-referenced what other people were saying there, but sure. He's saying, Wyatt was saying he's so happy for Braun, but then the Lantern starts talking to him, and he says, no, that was years ago. I'm sure he's learned his lesson by now. And then it shows all the clips of Braun in the Wyatt family and all that stuff. And then he's saying, he brought him in from the swamp and gave him a home, but he turned his back on the family. And then he gets all serious. That's his, serious, intense face. And just says, as one circle closes, another begins again. Since I brought you into this world, I'm going to have to take you out. And then Braun responds by saying, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to let you in, mate.
I do like the image of Bray walking through a swamp, meeting Braun and going, do you want to take a minute? Do you want to be a wrestler? I mean, I actually work for the WWE, so if you want a job, I can probably get you one. And it's
probably better than being in the swamp.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a better life than living in a swamp.
That's
where people live.
Yeah,
just him and Shrek.
Yeah, exactly. And the swamp people from Avatar. That's a reference you won't get.
No, I don't.
Not the bad Avatar, the good one. After that was the end of the episode. I thought it was a pretty decent episode of SmackDown. I thought there was some varied storytelling, which is nice. Not every feud feels the same, which is nice. I'm not overly excited by some of the feuds that are coming, but at least they are telling stories and they're building feuds effectively. As a SmackDown After Mania episode, there was nothing really to write home about, but as a building show for Money in the Bank, I thought it was pretty good. I gave it a high 3 out of 5.
Yeah, 3 out of 5. Building matches, not matches we haven't seen before, but at least it returned to being a full SmackDown show, which I appreciated.
Absolutely, yes. But before we get out of here, we now need to say thank you to some very special people, and those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on Patreon. If you've not gone over to WrestleTalk's Patreon yet, why not? There's loads of bonus content for you to binge listen to during times such as these. Loads of retro pay-per-view reviews with Ollie and Luke on the WrestleTalk Extra, and you get WrestleTalk After Dark at the $10 here as well, which is our rambly, sweary nonsense podcast where some of us gather around and have drinks and do weird topics of conversation. But if you pledge at the $25 or above tier, you get your own custom wrestling name, and it gets read out on a show just like this one. So thank you to Joseph, Starsky, and McCutcheon. Thank you.
Martin, Santoyo talking to me.
Hey, thank you. Probocop.
Yes,
thank you.
The monster among Patreons, Brian Strowman.
Hey, it's topical because Universal Champion. The real boss, Matt Robinson. Woo!
No, I think he's talking to you, Damian Thompson. I said that wrong, but I'm going to go with it.
That's fine. They drew first blood, not me, Grace Rambo.
Oh, good name, Grace. How do you like them apples, Marcel Jura?
Oh, what a great name.
What a lovely man as well.
Sayonara, Ken Grant.
Goodbye. Flaccid Kraken, Joe Gianella.
What a great name. Thank you very much. Brett the Hitman, Matthew Williams.
Oh, that is really good. And, of course, the mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Dan, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all our Patreons, and thank you for watching. Please press the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk things, and a button on the screen that'll make you become a pledge hammer on Patreon. I've been Chubba Pete Quinnell. I've been joined by Randy Andy Datson, and that was SmackDown.